Hey everybody, this is the Battle Don coming at you again with another video. So today I'm going to start this series called the Trick Bag series, guys. And what this is about is, the mission of the channel is to equip people with the non-physical survival skills that they can use to have victory in an increasingly insecure and predatory world system. So we're going to kick off the Trick Bag series. And what a Trick Bag is basically it's like something that people can get caught up in, a way of thinking, a way of being that will hurt their lives and the people around them if they embrace that trick bag and live it out. So the first trick bag we're going to talk about is something dealing with a current event, but it's something that's really been going on for millennia, really. And this is the Holy War trick bag. I'm going to apply my worldview warfighting architecture to this to give you a way of understanding these conflicts, and not only how they affect you, but how they are affecting other people around you, so that when you engage people and even when you think introspectively, you're able to better understand yourself. Remember, there's 5 components. We have the zeitgeist, we have technique, propaganda, wicked deception, and revolution. We're going to start with the zeitgeist. With the zeitgeist, we have a couple things. First of all, we've got space-time. Throughout world history, people have fought wars based on their conception of the divine. In this particular case, we're going to focus on 20th and 21st century West Asia. West Asia, otherwise known as the Middle East. That is our space and time. With the collective conscience, we're going to have the Islamic social order. We're going to have the rabbinic social order. These are the human influences, the human inspiration that we're going to be working within. For the collective unconscious, we're going to have the supernatural experiences that reinforce that social order. So these are going to be things like rabbinic mysticism, the Jewish witchcraft. Also, on the Islamic side, we've got Sufism and the different types of mystical experiences that practitioners have, and these experiences reinforce that social order. Now, the thing about the zeitgeist, like I said in the video, which I explained the zeitgeist component more in depth, the thing about the zeitgeist is it can be difficult to pin down. So for that reason, what we use are ideological terms. The first one is going to be Third Temple. Third Temple. So when we say that term, Third Temple, we're bringing in a lot, especially from the Jewish side of things, that Third Temple and what it means to establish that, the implications of it. This ideology that goes behind the establishment of that Third Temple is really one of the main causes for the current outbreak and conflict that we have today, when the Jewish settlers went into the Alaska Mosque. We also have the two-state solution. Okay, so that's another ideological term. That's something that we're going to bring in groups like the United Nations, for example. When we hear that term and all the moves that have been made on the global geopolitical level through entities like the United Nations to forward some sort of peace in that Western Asian region. Also, we have Free Palestine. Okay, so when we say that, when we hear that, we're bringing in a lot coming from the pro-Palestinian side, of course, and what that means. It's like a slogan almost, but it captures so much. You probably could think of more, and I want you to let me know if you could think of other ideological terms. Moving on to technique. First of all, we look at the technology. The technologies that are going to have a huge impact in what's going on They're going to be the technological advancements in the area of military, law enforcement, and public relations. So particularly the police aspect has to do with the different surveillance that have been used in Gaza and in the West Bank. Both sides have taken advantage of considerable military advancements, and also with public relations. We see social media, especially the last few years, the efforts on both sides have been just increasingly advanced. Remember our 7 aspects of culture. I'm going to intertwine common culture and mystery culture in this. So let's start with something that looms very large. We have philosophy. So under philosophy, we've got Zionism and anti-Zionism. Okay, so Zionism, the philosophy that the Jewish people, the land of Israel is their land and they should occupy it. Anti-Zionism is basically the opposite. The next we have is religion, another very obvious one. Some of it's obvious, some of it might not be so obvious. Of course, we've got rabbinical Judaism, we've got Islam, we have Christianity as well. There are Jewish Christians and Arab Christians in the area. We have mystery religion at work here as well. The Jewish mysticism, Jewish witchcraft, Sufism, and within Islam. Then you get to you get closer to mystery religion. There's also different aspects of Christianity. I'm not saying that this is scriptural Christianity. This is different. Law. Under law, we've got halakha law. We also have Sharia law. And we have the basic laws of Israel. So when we think about what is operating in the legal space, that's what's happening. Under politics, we've got government policy, domestic government policy. So this feeds back into, for example, the police technology. We also have the policies that are in effect within Gaza, within the West Bank. They have a form of governance there, Mahmoud Abbas being the leader. Also, foreign, we have the proxy games that these geopolitical powers are playing in the area. Okay, so both the East and the West lean on the Jews and the Arabs in the region for their own geopolitical reasons. Under science, we've got a lot of research and development on both sides. Israel actually is known for that. It's a important aspect of their economy, which we'll go into next. Economics. So there's a lot of things going on here with economics. Here we'll start to get a look inside of the mystery culture better. When we think about, okay, for the common culture, we've got one, the Suez Canal, all right? It's not very far from the region, and any disruption in the Suez Canal is going to greatly affect global economics, because so much of the world's commerce from east to west and vice versa goes through the Suez Canal. Otherwise, you got to go around the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa. That is a long way. Also, we've got the foreign aid. United States, very well known for contributing an enormous amount of foreign aid to Israel. And there are other, like the European Union as well, gives some aid. And there are geopolitical powers that give aid to Palestinians. Some of them are in the West, some of them are in the East. Now, let's get into a little shadow economics. Because of this conflict, we see some things coming to the front. First of all, with arms trafficking. We also see people fleeing. These people are going to be poor. The Palestinians, they're going to be poor. They're going to be prey to human traffickers. So lastly, we've got art, we've got the media, we've got music. For example, when the Palestinian side, they've been using hip hop a lot. I've heard about over the years, actually, them using hip hop to get out the message, speak about what they go through within Gaza and the West Bank. You've got social media and television, especially on the Jewish side. Television media has played a large role over the years with groups like the Christian broadcasters putting out messages for a long time. Now let's look at propaganda. So we're going to start with integration. Again, I mentioned social media. So with our integration, we're going to have the social media solidarity efforts. So I mentioned one talking about, support for the Zionist cause that you'll see in the United States and the West, seeking funding, things like that, to help move Jewish people to Israel, things like that. Also on the Palestinian side, you see, again, this is where we get back into the ideological term, free Palestine. So you see a lot of social media efforts throughout the years that use that term to garner support, to build solidarity with other groups that are marginalized in other parts of the world, that those social media efforts help build solidarity. Now let's move on to agitation. So with agitation, we've got social media, and I'm just giving examples. This is not a comprehensive at all. This is just to start to really think about and kind of lay out the psychosocial spiritual landscape, if you will. With agitation, we've got social media again. We've got fear mongering. Both sides have employed this fear mongering to different degrees on social media. A lot of people thinking about how this conflict is going to affect them. We have the videos, for example, of the different attacks, people being hurt, whether the Palestinians are showing videos of Israelis being killed or videos of Palestinians being killed. This agitates. Same thing on the other side. If Jewish people post videos about Palestinians being killed or Jewish people being killed, this serves as agitation. It just depends on where the person stands. So then we get down into the sub-propaganda. We're going to get into the conditioned reflex, okay? So again, a video I made about propaganda goes into a lot more detail about what I mean by agitation, what I mean by integration, conditioned reflex. You can check out that video for more detailed explanation. So the conditioned reflex that I think about, and this is something that I had to actually deal with myself. This is what prompted me to make this video, because the conditioned reflex is all about basically when you get in your feelings about something. So it's like, on one hand, there was this feeling that I had about apathy, this apathetic feeling like, you know what, this isn't my problem. These people have been fighting for so long. What's that got to do with me? I don't care. And I thought about it and I'm like, something's not right about that. As an African American, I should know that when people are being dehumanized, I should know that that's not a good thing. Being apathetic is not the solution. Then on the other hand, it's the finger pointing. As African American, I think about, okay, there's been some tension between the black community in America and the Jewish community in America. There's also been some tension between the Arab community in America and the African American community. When I get in my feelings about it, I want to point the finger at them, talk about them like, not so advanced and sophisticated like you put on to be, huh? And again, this is not the way to go, It's a trick bag, like I said. The whole point is to get you in your feelings and push that in a certain way that can be exploited. So then we have the myth. So with a myth, this was kind of difficult for me to think about, because in analyzing this, I want to find something that really addresses both sides. And essentially what you have is, on both sides, the myth that the propaganda is going to build on. The underlying myth that the propaganda is going to build on is having a sovereign ethno-religious state. Both sides ultimately want this for themselves, okay? What that means to each side is going to be different, but that's essentially what the myth is. There should be a sovereign, ethno-religious state. And so, this sub-propaganda, it leads right into the wicked deception. Now, when we look at the wicked deception, following off that myth, a major part of the deception is that, we're going to dwell in the land on our own terms by any means necessary. So there's some truth in that, and there's some lies in that. In order to dig a little bit deeper into that, I was thinking, okay, so what leads a person down that path? By any means, no matter children, women, innocent men, if they have to die, they just have to die. What could rationalize, what could romanticize, legitimize that? So I got to thinking about it. Trauma does a lot to help us justify why we do what we do. And, I was thinking about what scripture says about the topon. And the topon that gets introduced and established in our lives through trauma. So I was want to analyze some of this trauma and just basically, help to describe what I'm talking about, that rationalization. So the Arab world has been dominated by the West since the Cold War era. Then the Arab world, there was a proxy war between communism and capitalism that took place. And so the capitalist forces eventually won, but there was a lot of bloodshed in the process. On the Jewish side, we've got the post-Holocaust sentiment. The never again, the memories of SS St. Louis, for example, the ship of the Jewish refugees that were trying to get refugee status in the West. They came to Cuba, they got turned down. They reached out to other nations in the West, Canada, South America, United States. The Jewish organizations put up money saying, hey, if you just let these people get off the boat, we'll pay for them to get settled. They were turned down. They had to go back to Europe. Some of them were able to escape the anti-Semitic sentiment, and some of them ended up dying in the Holocaust. So that's the foreign-induced trauma. Okay, so also we've got the domestic trauma, the Gaza, West Bank, police state, apartheid type conditions that we see. We see videos of this, heard accounts of this for many years, how the people are treated in these areas. On the Jewish side, we've got the terrorism that's taking place in Israel. That, again, traumatic. And then we have the internal within the Jewish community, within the Arab community there. So we have the secular Jews versus the Orthodox Jews. Palestinian refugees and other Arab countries not being allowed to assimilate into those Arab countries, basically being used as pawns by Arab powers to keep this group basically as a standby to say at any time they could be used to attack Israel. So that's traumatic. And that what that does is basically feeds into, romanticize, legitimize this worldview, whichever particular worldview that they ascribe to. The trauma helps to reinforce it, okay, within wicked deception. And then we have basically, I think this will be the core, even more so fundamental than dwelling in the land on our own terms by any means. What we have is the whole concept of ethnic superiority. Okay, so at the root of this, on both sides, there's this sense of ethnic superiority. The thing that touches on ultimately is the concept of the self and the concept of the divine. The way that it manifests is self and the divine are one, because you already see yourself as superior to the other, and that has a direct implication on how you see the divine. That's wicked deception. And again, this is just the outline, guys. What I'm doing here is, and I'm just saying that you can use my worldview warfighting architecture to help you understand how these types of things, like these trick bags, in this case, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, how this is affecting yourself, and it can help you understand how it's affecting others. So when we get into revolution, this becomes more evident, because first I'll start with the gratification and the glorification aspect. Self-gratification, self-glorification. Basic things. Whenever we're looking at this, we're looking at the basic, fundamental, and I don't mean basic as in simple or easy. I mean basic as in core, foundational. These are the things that this revolutionary dynamic is touching upon. What is that? Okay, and this, I'm talking about all the parties involved, Jewish, Arab, and otherwise. It's gonna have an aspect of greed there. Okay, so if you got people that are selling weapons, okay, it's time to make some money. We're gonna sell some weapons. We're gonna get some women, children involved in this sex trade. We're gonna make some money. Fame. Just think about this. Think about the politicians, the diplomats that can build their career to have played a role in forging some peace in this conflict, regardless of any sort of real solution to helping people have a better life. That doesn't matter. As long as they can get that deal signed, it's going to be a big up for them, and they'll go down in history as playing a role in that. Also, you've got revenge. This is a huge one, okay? So for the Arab side, for the Jewish side, there's strong emotions on either side. People feel like one side is deserving to be killed. Theft, death, and destruction, okay? Also, we've got power, okay? Being able to dictate how other people live their lives, who can and who can't stay here or there, establishing that ethno-religious state. It's all about that lust for power, okay? So let's look at some of the ways in which this is contributing to the world system, this whole trick bag, if you get caught up in it, on the individual level, and how it's affecting the collective level. So on the collective level, we'll start with conflict in West Asia. What it does is it facilitates further conflict in other parts of the world. Okay, so it does this in a couple ways. You've got anti-Zionist versus Zionist factions all over the world now, getting more riled up against one another. Okay, the U.S. State Department just recently put out a global warning for any U.S. citizen outside the United States to be more vigilant of attacks, because they're American, and American largely our foreign policy falls into the Zionist camp. Okay. Also, we've got Israel as a distraction. Now, since you've got this conflict taking place, other groups could say, okay, let's take advantage of this and let's go ahead and attack our enemies now while the great powers are distracted in Israel. Okay, so on the individual level, what do we have? People have fear of the economic, political, and religious crises that could spiral out of control within their own nations. Okay, so like I said, the Suez Canal, that goes down. It's going to affect trade for many nations. Political, okay? So many of these nations are nuclear powered. You've got America with 2 battleships in the Mediterranean. You've got Russia to the north, nuclear powered nations. Israel has nukes. Iran, from what I understand, at any time they can spin up their nuclear program. Okay, this is a very dangerous situation. Also, religious crises. Jewish groups here in the United States could face retaliation. Christians in Israel, Christians in Palestinian areas, they have Christians there. This is a fearful time for people. Also, family and friends splitting, people that have one view and someone else has another view within a family. This could cause tension within families. Friends could fall out behind this. So we see that laying out this trick bag. It's a trick bag because getting caught up in this without having an understanding for how this can be used to further the world system. Right, by through our actions, we contribute to strife between families or friends, or we allow our lives to be dictated by a fear, or we allow ourselves to embrace evil suspicion. Just seeing somebody and they look a certain way, we don't know anything about that person, but we're just automatically untrusting, or we're very suspicious of that person. That can be dangerous because you start assuming somebody's going to do something, or if something goes wrong, the first person you look at is that person. Oh, it must have been them. We can't trust them. You got to watch out for them. That gets dangerous and innocent people get hurt. And so what I wanted to do with this video to kick off the Trick Bag series is just help you understand. Hopefully it does help you understand how this can be used to manipulate you as an individual and societies on the collective level. So this is the battle done. I'm going to be coming with some more trick bags. And so this is just the beginning. Everybody, thank you for watching. And until next time.